BJP as well as the KJP is facing the corruption charges. Not only Yediyurappa, in the last BJP regime in Karnataka, there are 8 to 10 ministers who were involved in the scandals went to the jail or they have taken the anticipatory bail. This is the governance given by the BJP. Before coming to the power in South India, they have given the manifesto in the name of Sankalpa. But now they are giving a good entertainment to the people.
Okay.
Even
Mr. Babu, you say this is entertainment for the masses at large. You say that this is nothing but entertainment. Let me go to John Thomas very quickly. John Thomas, does this not affect the BJP anymore? Is this the new face of a modified BJP that do not care whether or not leaders with taint associated with them, they just want them back, they just want the votes, they just want the people who will get them the seats and the numbers, and after attacking the Congress and the UPA for a year on end, they seem to be doing the exact same thing by calling Yediyurappa back.
I would say we shouldn't say that this is something that has happened because BJP has got modified. BJP never wanted Yediyurappa and its faction to leave in the first place. They tried very hard to keep them all together. But it happened. So it's just that the election results have proven something. That's all that Yediyurappa also wanted.
But Team Advani, John Thomas, Team Advani left no stone unturned to make sure Yediyurappa resigns because the taint was getting too heavy. So at least one faction of the BJP was dead against having him inside the party.
A faction, the BJP first of all had at least 3 factions, and there were certainly people who did not want Yediyurappa there, and everybody uses morality as a very convenient stick to beat somebody with. But the election has changed things and perceptions, and so therefore now they would like everybody to get back together. Otherwise Sadananda Gowda wouldn't have, for example, come to Delhi for a discussion.
Right, absolutely. News that we are getting, and NewsX has spoken to sources, and we understand that the clamor, the chorus within the BJP to get Yediyurappa, to reabsorb Yediyurappa and his KJP back into the party fold is just growing louder and louder. Anand Gadgil is a spokesperson from the Congress party. Sir, I want your reaction on this really. For the past 1.5 years, BJP has lost no opportunity whatsoever to accuse you, your party and your government of being close to tainted ministers, of looking the other way while your ministers went on a rampage of corruption. Now, what is the BJP doing really? Do you think it exposes their claim when they claim to be the party, the clean party with the difference? Do you think there is absolutely no difference in any political party, and people will always want people in their party who can get them votes, who can make them win elections? Your comments, briefly.
KGP plus BJP is not going to be equal to MJP, that is Modified Janata Party.
Okay.
It is going to be equal to DJP, Dooms Janata Party. Take it from me. Number 2, where is this party with a difference? It was never a party with a difference. Let us take the example of Karnataka, where Mr. Yediyurappa had to go to jail. 3 to 4 ministers went to jail. Today, Madhya Pradesh incident, the ex-minister has gone to jail for the reasons we cannot publicly discuss on television channel. Take the example of Gujarat.
Mr. Gadgil, we can discuss what we want on television channels. If you are willing, I am willing.
No, the thing is, decency demands that we don't get too much into detail why the Madhya Pradesh minister had to resign and why he was arrested today.
Okay, that's not the topic tonight,
sir. If you compare with the Congress, no, but I'm just saying that if you compare, all the time BJP has been criticizing Congress. On the basis of perception, there are examples, Congress has removed the ministers whose charges, or the leaders whose charges are not even proved till date today. That is the basic difference. And BJP is the party which has been claiming all these years that we are a party with a difference. So now what right have they to talk about this? No, never was it a party, never, they always has been in the corrupt practices. In Maharashtra, their vice president publicly admitted that he has spent 8 crore rupees when the actual permissible limit of election commission is only 40 lakhs. Where did they get the money from? When BJP says that Congress, wherever is in power, gets the money, can I then in that case raise a question that BJP is in power in Gujarat, does that not mean that the statement of Maharashtra, the BJP's leader or the vice president saying he has spent so much of crore rupees, does it not mean that he got
So
the
your
money?
claim,
the
sir,
BJP
your
got the
claim
money
is
from
that
Gujarat?
your claim, sir, is that BJP is no party with a difference. It is a party with differences. I want to go to the BJP's leader on the panel, sir, and I'm sure he'll be interested to answer some of the questions that we throw his way. Mr. Sudhanshu Mittal has joined us on the NewsX debate. Many thanks, sir, for joining us. I have a couple of words that I'm going to throw your way, sir. Words that we picked up during the course of this story today. Some friends of yours from the left used the word duplicity. Some people use double standards. Some people use corruption taint, and some people said graft no bar for the BJP. Comment, sir, briefly.
Akhtar, unfortunately, people who have been talking this are the very perpetrators of corruption and immorality in the entire political system. Look, let's evaluate what just my friend was just talking about what happened in Bhopal day before, where a minister has been arrested and sent to jail. Admittedly, that what he did was immoral conduct. It is a conduct which needs to be which deserves to be condemned in the most articulate fashion. But there is where the difference between organizations come out. Look what happened in the case of Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Look what happened in the case of
I don't want to digress from the topic, sir. We're talking about Yediyurappa coming back into the BJP. I don't want to talk about Madhya Pradesh politics.
I will come to that. Okay, let's talk about Yediyurappa also. Just allow me to finish this. We expelled him immediately, removed him from the ministry, and now he's in jail. And they elevate Mr. Singhvi back to the level of a spokesman. And Narayana Tiwari continued to campaign for the Congress in the
Mr.
Uttarakhand
Mittal,
election.
he
Now,
said
I don't want to get into this
he
now.
said, she said it can continue
I
all
don't
night
want to
long.
get into it.
Let's talk about why do you want Mr. Yediyurappa back after Mr. Advani put his foot down. Mr. Anant Kumar is not going to be happy.
Allow me to talk about Yediyurappa and all this. A, I think we are jumping the guns.
Hello?
It has still not happened. B, I want to place some facts before everybody so that we do not misinterpret facts or do not forget facts. See, Yediyurappa was never expelled by BJP on its own. We removed him because there were charges against him. He was insistent that he should be made the chief minister again. BJP said no. Because there are charges, there are serious allegations, we will not make you the chief minister again, come what may. He said, look, if you don't, I'll leave the party. We said the option is yours. We are willing to pay any price, even the cost of losing the elections, but that's not what we are going to compromise. We will not make you the chief minister. And that is what we did. He left on his own accord. Today, if he wants to come back on his own accord, he is welcome. But the fact that, allow me, the fact is that if he is looking for the leadership of the kind which he was demanding, I'm sure the party is very, very clear on that.
Okay, that is my exact point, Mr. Mittal. That is my exact point. Before I go to MR Venkatesh, sir, one brief point, Mr. Mittal, allow me. Before I go to Mr. MR Venkatesh, my only point, sir, is it is not just Mr. Yediyurappa who wants to return. Ever since Mr. Modi came to the national spotlight within the BJP, we all know Mr. Yediyurappa is an unabashed Modi supporter, Modi fan, and it's a mutual admiration society. Ever since Mr. Modi took charge, there have been noises about how Mr. Yediyurappa wants to come back, how a faction led by Mr. Modi wants him back because the BJP wants its southern base, the southern bastion to come back. We also understand that Mr. Gehlot, who's in charge of Karnataka, also Mr. Sadanand Gowda, he met Mr. Rajnath Singh, the BJP president. The clamour is growing. You and I both know that. Sources are telling us that it's just a matter of time before a formula is devised as under which Mr. Yediyurappa will come back and merge his party. What I am asking you, sir, very briefly is, if he was too tainted or too corrupt back then, how is he overnight magically not corrupt or not tainted that you want him back?
As I said, the issue would be, is this the leadership? People are there in the party. There are charges, so we remove them from the public post they are holding. Because we believe that in public life, people who have to hold positions must be above board. We removed him. And that is the stated position which shall continue. Being a party functionary is a different thing. I am sure BJP will desist any move to make him a public figure in terms of being a minister.
Okay, point taken. Okay, point taken.
Secondly,
sir, I'll come back to you. It's a long debate. It's a long debate.
I want to explain.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Mittal.
Somebody working for the party somebody working for the party and somebody, the party is giving leadership for the purpose of a public office. They're two
Okay,
different
okay.
things altogether.
The point we're discussing,
Let
Mr.
us
M.R.
understand the
Venkatesh.
distinction.
Mr. M.R. Venkatesh, I want to ask you this very, very clearly as an independent analyst, as someone who's analyzing it from the outside. Does it not look like the BJP is exactly doing what it has been berating the Congress for the past 1 year? Double standards do come in. Your independent view?
See, as far as Mr. Yediyurappa is concerned, let us be clear, there are a couple of charges. But in one of the charges, if I am recollecting correctly, the FIR was quashed even by the Bangalore, Karnataka High Court.
High Court.
So we must understand that, High Court has even quashed the entire FIR. Whatever remains as a charge, that is kith and kin got the land at some lower rate, I think the same charge is leveled against Mr. Kumaraswamy, against other chief ministers of Karnataka also. If that is your yardstick, then many of the chief ministers of Karnataka would be inside the prison in Bangalore. So to that extent, if BJP is going to take back Mr. Yediyurappa as a party functionary, I don't think there is anything wrong in taking Mr. Yediyurappa as a party functionary. The question is whether Mr. Yediyurappa is going to become the next chief minister. I'm sure he's not going to be for the next 4.5 years, because the Congress is fairly well saddled in power. And if that comes to a pass, then at that point in time, we may have to look into the fact whether Mr. Yediyurappa is eligible for office. Be that as it may, here we have quite a few chief ministers, quite a few cabinet ministers. We have the famous case of Mr. Lalu. We have the famous case of Mayawati, Mulayam, several of those people who have been charge-sheeted and they are facing trial, and we had no qualms in offering them offices.
Fair enough.
Last but not the least. Last but not the least. Last week, it was just last week, when Madam Kanimozhi was supported by the Congress for the Rajya Sabha ticket in Tamil Nadu, and there was no whisper of anything called taint when she is facing one of the largest corruption in charges against her in India.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying she's corrupt. I'm saying she is. So let us understand. Grisham's law works. When bad circulates with good, bad drives out good. So this is the problem with Indian politics.
Sir, I completely agree with you.
Today.
I completely agree with you, Mr. Venkatesh.
I think, no, listen. BJP is well advised not to take the issue of morality or corruption. Let it play the politics of real politics.
Right.
I think it will come up triumphs.
Okay.
Let it not play this. Let it not. Everybody is corrupt.
Okay, I think you have a point.
Everybody
I think
is,
all politicians and all political parties indulge in all of this. You and I know this, even though these parties might not agree to it, and they'll always defend their party. They'll defend the indefensible. That's not the point here. The point is we understand politicians cutting across party lines do this, and parties always do this. My only point was, before I go to Mr. Ramesh Babu, was trying to make a point, was that the BJP has always said it's a clean party with a difference. And my only question to Mr. Mittal was, who I'll come to in just a bit, was that you claim to be different, but you're not acting differently. My only point was that. I'll come to you, Mr. Mittal. Mr. Ramesh Babu, you wanted to say something. You had a hand up. Yes, briefly, sir.
You see, my BJP friend has stated that the Karnataka High Court has quashed the FIR against the Yediyurappa. He has to understand, out of 8 cases, 1 FIR has been quashed. Remaining cases are pending, as well as Lokayukta, as well as in other courts which concern to the Shumaga.
Mr. Babu,
Here,
your leader also
not
faces
only
charges of corruption. What about that?
No. You see, there are so many charges against Mr. Yediyurappa, not only corruption. So many cases are pending against Mr. Yediyurappa. Here, the party with the difference, what BJP is claiming, entire BJP is pledged to Yediyurappa in Karnataka. Without Yediyurappa, they cannot do anything. That is the situation in Karnataka, what they have surrendered before Yediyurappa. You see, every person, including Sadananda Gowda, is having their own agenda. That is why they are batting to get back Mr. Yediyurappa. Mr. Sadananda Gowda wants to contest for Lok Sabha from Mysore constituency. He wants Yediyurappa support. Like that, Mr. Anant Kumar, National Secretary of BJP, wants to contest from Bengaluru South. Last election, he won the election by thin margin. Unless Yediyurappa, he cannot survive. Now, out of 28 assembly, only in 2 parliament constituency, they got majority in assembly elections. That is why it is inevitable to them. For their survival, they are struggling. Unless and otherwise, they are nothing to do with
Mr.
KJP.
Babu, one-line answer before I move on to the other guest. Mr. Babu, one-line
BJP,
answer. Do you think even with Yediyurappa back, do you think the BJP stands a chance? What about your party? What about the Congress that's in power right now? Do you think your two parties will allow the KJP along with the BJP to reclaim the southern bastion of Karnataka? What is Mr. Yediyurappa's real standing now? Does he still command as much weight and clout within the Lingayat community?
You see, in Karnataka, the only one regional party is Janata Dala Secular. We are maintaining our party. We will fight against the BJP as well as Congress. It is our firm decision. We are going to fight against BJP as well as Congress.
Okay.
And we establish our strength in coming parliament elections.
Okay, okay.
If
Mr.
KJP
Babu,
is
you did
going
not reply to
merge
my
with
question
BJP,
about
there
Mr.
is no
Kumaraswamy,
difference.
who also has
Nothing they
graft
can
charges
achieve.
against him. I'll come to you for that, sir. Please be patient. John Thomas, before I go to Mr. Mittal and Mr. Gadgil. John Thomas, quick question really. There are all sorts of theories in Delhi, and because you're sitting slightly away from Delhi, I want to ask you this. There is one theory that's circulating here is that Mr. Yediyurappa has washed his hands of the BJP. The only reason he would like to come back is because his son still hasn't resigned from the BJP officially, and he is, of course, the leader from Shimoga. To secure his political future, Mr. Yediyurappa will do anything, even merge with the BJP. Does that theory hold any water for you?
You see, again, Yediyurappa is a dyed-in-the-wool BJP oblique RSS person. It's very hard for him to divorce himself from something that he's been with for all his life. So he actually left as a very unhappy person just because there was no way that they would keep him there as chief minister, and also because it was also BJP having to do that because of the Lokayukta. If the Lokayukta hadn't taken such a strong position, he would have sat there all his while. And now the very simple thing is, he's understood what's happened. BJP's other functionaries have understood what's happened. They're trying to bring them back together. So I don't think it's a huge amount of conspiracy theories that one needs to. It's a logical thing for them to come. We just need to see whether the Bellary brothers party as well will just join back.
Right, right. That's a very good point raised by John Thomas. Before I go to Mr. Mittal, Mr. Gadgil, very quick reaction from you before I come to Mr. Mittal for my next set of questions. Really now, Mr. Thawarchand Gehlot is the BJP in charge of Karnataka. He's been giving statements all through the week saying that Mr. Yediyurappa has to make the first move. The party is okay with Mr. Yediyurappa himself, but not his baggage. What is that supposed to mean? They're okay with Yediyurappa, but not his baggage. What do you make of that?
See, this is always a BJP strategy. BJP doesn't make a direct statement because then they will draw criticism. So this is a strategy they work out, that they will go on saying that if Mr. Yediyurappa wants, if Mr. Yediyurappa is willing to, and so on and so forth, etc., etc. So that has been their practice for a long time, and they continue irrespective whether it is Karnataka or not. The main issue is that we were talking about Mr. Yediyurappa. An important point was made here in the debate, that when the Lokayukta came down heavily, he had to resign. Let's take the example of other ministers. I was told some law ministers then the law minister, I was told, had to resign because he was found doing illegal things. The education minister, I was told, had to resign because there was some fraud in the educational institutes which were erected. So the portfolios which were given to those respective ministers, there only they made corruption or whatever charges were made. So I fail to understand why only we are discussing Yediyurappa, even other entire, perhaps the cabinet of Karnataka, and that is why the people of Karnataka did not buy the argument of BJP, and they decided to throw out or vote out BJP and bring back the Congress. As simple as that.
Right. Mr. Mittal, some very, very pertinent questions right now. What happens to the opinion of your tallest leader, Mr. L.K. Advani, who was very adamant that Mr. Yediyurappa should first of all abdicate his CM's post and then put pressure for him, which led to Mr. Yediyurappa leaving the party. Anant Kumar, who is one of your tallest leaders in Karnataka, also very close to central politics within the BJP, is dead against Mr. Yediyurappa coming back in any sort of role into the BJP. Will you ignore, has this new modified BJP snubbed Team Advani, which also includes Anant Kumar?
I don't understand. I just heard Mr. Ramesh Babu claiming that Mr. Anant Kumar is very, very keen to get Mr. Yediyurappa back. You are saying, no, Anant Kumar is against Yediyurappa's return. So first, the two of you must decide.
You and I
what is
know,
the
sir,
truth
Mr.
between
Anant
the two
Kumar
of you.
fought
Secondly-
tooth and nail for
secondly-
Mr. Yediyurappa to leave his CM sport. You and I both know that, sir.
Yeah. I mean, why just Anant Kumar? The party unanimously took a decision that in view of the charges leveled against Mr. Yediyurappa, he shall not continue to be the chief
But
minister.
those charges, sir,
So
still
why just
stand.
Anant Kumar? Allow me. As I explained to you, the party took a very principled stand. Even at the cost of losing its government in Karnataka, we knew the day that Yediyurappa will leave, we will lose. Because he was the tallest of the Lingayat leaders. But he said, so it be. We are not compromising on the basic principality of probity. And that's why we let him go. Today also, as I said, working in the party and being the public face in terms of ministerial assignments and all are two different things altogether. Believe me, on these issues, when they come, BJP is going to take a very, very constructive decision. We are very clear. We are not compromising on our credibility vis-a-vis holding public offices.
Okay.
So, acha, in terms of how you are going to strengthen your own organization vis-a-vis people working in the organization, I don't think that should be the concern of anybody else.
So
It is
you're
something
admitting-
internal
you're-
and it's exclusive to us.
Mr. Mittal, you're admitting that
Allow me.
moves might be
See-
afoot so that the KJP merges with the BJP. So you
I'm not, what I'm just trying to tell you is, I'm laying down a principality. I'm saying these are the principle on which decisions are taken. When it comes to being the public face in public offices, we said no. There are charges which will erode our credibility as an organization.
Okay, Mr.
He
Venkatesh.
left. We never expelled him.
Mr. Venkatesh, Mr. Mittal says as far as organization responsibilities are concerned, people with charges against them are okay if they join the BJP, but they will not let them hold any public position.
May I
And that is BJP's
ask
stand.
one question here?
No,
Yeah, Mr.
BJP's
Gadgil, I'm
stand
coming
is
to you,
that.
yes.
But
Yeah,
But-
go ahead,
but
go ahead.
I think the more important thing I think we are missing in the debate is Mr. Modi having taken charge, or what you say in the media has modified BJP, is actually at least unifying various factions within the BJP, and those who had left immediately in the past, they are all trying to come together. Moral of the story, as I see it from a vantage point here in Chennai, is that Mr. Modi is slowly becoming a huge asset for the BJP, and even in distant south, people think, and Mr. Yediyurappa is also trying to come here not for anything else, but knowing very well that the grass is going to be green if and when Mr. Modi will be made the helm of affairs in the BJP. And I think this is a very clear sign that Mr. Modi and Mr. Yediyurappa coming together is good augury as far as BJP is concerned.
Okay.
And as far as not giving any public office is concerned, I think I will go with Mr. Sudhanshu Mittal. If that is the principled stand of the BJP, I think that is a fair enough stand. I think nothing prohibits him from contesting elections. He has not been convicted. He has not been prohibited by any court. After all, an FIR has been launched. And in this country, for 2,000 rupees a bribe in a police station, you can launch FIR against anybody. I think that is not a big issue. I think the crucial issue is that whether Mr. Look at the fanfare with which the FIR was launched. The Lokayukta FIR was quashed by the High Court. So you see the political vendetta behind the whole FIR.
Yeah,
so I'm sure the other FIRs also. I'm not sitting on
Venkatesh,
judgment
we're not
on that.
debating
But what
whether
I'm
or
saying
not
is
Mr. Yediyurappa is innocent or not. We are only debating the principle of the thing and the morality of the thing, because the BJP has been pummeling the Congress and the UPA for over a year on the same issue.
No, that is what I'm saying. No, please understand.
Sir, can
Please
you
understand.
fault
The
us on the
morality starts
morality?
only when if he's holding a public office. What is your problem when he comes and joins
No,
the BJP?
I don't have a
becomes
problem.
an
I don't have a problem with
ordinary
anything. I'm just saying the BJP
yes,
says
I
something.
think I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem in Kalmadi becoming an ordinary Congress worker,
Fair
or
enough.
Kanimudi being an ordinary DMK worker.
enough, fair
I
enough.
think I have no problem with that.
Fair enough.
But if, as long as they are not convicted by a court, I think I have no
I'm
problem
getting
with
to-
anybody.
Okay, fair enough. Before Mr. Gadgil, I'm coming to you. I only have 3 minutes on the show left, but I want to come quickly to Mr. Thomas.
I just have one statement to make.
Yes.
I just have one quick question. Irrespective of whether somebody is proved guilty or not, we were talking about morality. Why the people of Karnataka during the previous tenure elected MLAs to work for them? Did they elect the BJP MLAs to watch the obscene films or the obscene X-rated clippings in the assembly or to work for the people.
Again we're digressing.
We were
Sir,
talking about morality.
Again
Where
we're
the
digressing.
morality was.
Sir,
They were
Again-
not in power. They were not the ministers.
Did
They were the
elect you to
MLAs. They
do
were in
this
the organization.
country?
They were the
Did they elect
organization
you
people.
to
They
have
were not in the ministers.
Again,
What
again,
action
sir,
did
those are
BJP
separate
take
issues. I
against
understand they're important issues.
Against these people who are in the
Did-
organization.
did-
Again, sir, again, there are separate issues.
Did they
Mr.
elect
Mittal,
you to loot 2,000 crores
Mr.
of
Mittal.
of this country
Mr.
in
Mittal,
Commonwealth
allow me,
Games?
sir, allow
They
me.
never-
I'll come to you at last. I'll come to you at last, like I always do. But I want to get quick words in from first Mr. Thomas, John Thomas, and then Mr. Ramesh Babu. John Thomas, really, is this BJP 2.0? They don't really, they can, I mean, justify it by any number of means, saying that, oh, it's not been proven yet. One FIR has been quashed. 8 still more exist. Lokayukta had indicted him. They can. Politicians can defend the indefensible, sir, but what I want to ask you is this really. If, first of all, Mr. Yediyurappa comes back into the BJP, does it rob the BJP of that plank of anti-corruption, tainted ministers that it's been using against the UP and the Congress at a national level for a while now? What do you think? Very briefly, I have to close the show.
It wouldn't make too much of a difference. It's just that we all try to give different MRP values for morality of different people and different parties, that's all. But as far as parties are concerned, they all adjust. And here in Karnataka, we say adjust Madi. And they will all adjust and try to get it together. And I think this is an accrual of all the disparate parties within the BJP coming together. Whether it's Modi's effect or not, they're going to come together because they've understood what's happened in the last election. So they need to face 2014 Lok Sabha election and they'll get together. I think that is my bet on what they'll try to do.
Very quickly,
Never mind
John
the,
Thomas.
MRP on morality.
Let me put you on the spot. Would you wager money on the KJP merging with the BJP anytime soon? The formula could be anything. Politicians are very wily and they're very intelligent also. They can come up with anything. But do you think the KJP and the BJP could be one entity soon?
I would not only bet on KJP and this coming together. I think even the Bellary faction will come together. I think they'll all get back together.
Okay, everyone comes back together, all is forgiven. That seems to be the way.
Can I have the last word?
Yeah, I'm coming to you, sir. I'm not going anywhere. Mr. Mittal, please be patient. Ramesh Babu, yes. There was one panelist tonight who said that H.D. Kumaraswamy, your leader, also has similar charges against him. And why does the JDS not make any noise about corruption when their own leader is mired in controversy?
You see, in the last government in Karnataka, JDS, even though we are not the opposition party, we fight against the BJP government. We only brought all corruption cases to the public. Now there is no justification from the BJP why they are entertaining Mr. Yediyurappa into the party fold. Even if the KJP merges with the BJP, there is no changes of result in Karnataka. What the people of Karnataka have given the result in assembly election, same result they are going to give in parliament also. They are definitely going to reject the BJP as well as the Congress. So the regional party is inevitable. In Karnataka as well as central, the third front is going to occupy the position. What the charges, corruption charges heavily facing by the UPA as well as the NDA, both the parties will be rejected by the people.
Anand Gadgil, before I give the last word to Mr. Mittal, let me ask you this. Even if the KJP comes together with the BJP, even if Yediyurappa returns to his old party, your party is in power in Karnataka right now. You're won with a handsome margin and you're willing to say that you'll take the next 5 years and make changes that the BJP and Yediyurappa couldn't. Are you really concerned, even if Yediyurappa returns to the BJP, will he give sleepless nights to Mr. Siddaramaiah and company?
Not at all. Because the charm is lost, people have lost confidence in them, in those individuals, and that is why we were elected with absolute, majority. We swept the polls. Had that not been the case, if we had won marginally, the story was different. But the people of Karnataka have given us an absolute majority, and that clearly indicates that they have no faith left in either BJP or the previous people who were with BJP, so on and so forth.
Okay, Mr. Mittal, coming to you, 2 quick questions, sir. First of all, you said you've given a very good defense of whether or not Mr. Yediyurappa should return to the BJP. But my question to you is, even if Mr. Yediyurappa comes back to the BJP, are you okay with the baggage that Mr. Gehlot talked about? He wants Yediyurappa, but he does not want his baggage. What will happen? How will you convince people, Karnataka leaders who are against the move? How will you convince Anant Kumar, Mr. Ishwarappa? How will you convince Prahlad Joshi?
Are we not jumping the gun? As I said, you are assuming that everything has happened and you know, it's an inevitability, which is not the case.
We have credible
So really
source-based
to
information,
ponder
sir.
over all these things. To ponder on all these things at this level, I think it's preemptive.
Okay, hypothetically, Yediyurappa returns to BJP
Yeah.
tomorrow. Hypothetically, Yediyurappa returns to KJP tomorrow under whatever formula you devise. Do you think you will be able to placate Mr. Anant Kumar? And
You see, hypothetically, if he returns, then hypothetically they would have been satisfied with us, sir. I don't think, unless there is unanimity about things are going to happen. So, if it's a hypothetical question, I've given you a hypothetical answer.
Sir, is
More
there any unanimity in the
importantly,
BJP right now
fact
over
is-
Yediyurappa?
The fact, just 1 minute, the fact is, do not paint every politician with the same brush. We have a different polity, we have a different sensitiveness to issues of morality and corruption than what Congress has. So please do not paint us with the same brush. That is my only humble submission. to
You realize, sir, it's very
And-
easy for
and-
us because Mr. Yediyurappa, if he comes back
No.
to the BJP, the media will be all over the BJP.
Let it be, so what? I mean, as long as we are morally correct, I have no issues. I can encounter anybody on that issue here.
And you are,
I mean,
in
we are
fact,
not,
convinced
we are not,
that...
we are not,
Mr. Mittal, are you in fact
absolutely, we are
convinced,
not,
and is the
we're not on the
BJP
back foot
convinced,
on that.
is the BJP convinced that getting Mr. Yediyurappa back will be the absolute right moral thing to do?
You know, a party which has chosen to sacrifice its government in Karnataka knows how to cater to its morality. So I don't think we'll ever have the dilemmas on these issues.
Okay. I think that must there is the point where I must end this particular debate. I must thank all my guests: Ramesh Babu from the JDS, who joined us from Bangalore; John Thomas, many thanks; M.R. Venkatesh, many thanks; Anand Gadgil, Congress spokesperson, came on the show as well; so did Sudhanshu Mittal, leader of the BJP. Many thanks all of you for joining us on the NewsX debate. That, of course, was all things Yediyurappa and BJP, but don't go anywhere. There's another very important talking we will be discussing in just a bit, that about Osama bin Laden and the report leaked to Al Jazeera. Now, the story of the colossal incompetence of the Pakistani authorities who failed to detect Osama bin Laden's presence for 9 years is now before the world. A Pakistani government report leaked by the Al Jazeera TV channel documents how bin Laden operated inside Pakistan. But what's unconvincing, though, is that the report, authored by some top members of the Pakistani establishment, doesn't fix any responsibility on anyone.
2 years after his death, the world learning about the secret life of Osama bin Laden. Hiding at the height of the war on terror, Osama undetected for 9 years in Pakistan. A leaked Pakistani government report exposes how he managed to do that. The report talks of the appalling incompetence of Pakistan's security apparatus. That even failed to detect the CIA's operation to eliminate him. The 337-page report liberally sprinkled with words like negligence and incompetence and a grave complicity as well. In one place, the report says Osama came close to capture in 2002 or 2003 in the northwest Swat Valley. The wife of bin Laden's career, Mariam, says a policeman pulled them over for speeding, but her husband quickly settled the matter. A house survey found Osama's house in Abbottabad uninhabited, despite the fact that 25 people lived in it since August 2005. Osama escaping a real detection in a cowboy hat. But the chief flaw of the report, while it says connivance, collaboration and cooperation, it doesn't name anyone. The leaked report also chastises Pakistan's leadership for failing to detect CIA activities on its soil while criticizing the US for its illegal operation. The report interviews bin Laden's family members, where his daughter states her father was hit in the forehead, but his face was clear and recognizable. In the end, the conclusion. Laden and his family stayed and travelled in Pakistan because of a small and dedicated network that met their every need. But clouding the report, the key questions. Why are there no details about the testimony of the then ISI chief, Pasha? Why is the page that talks about the 7 demands of the US missing from the report? Bureau Report, NewsX.
An explosive report now leaked to Al Jazeera, the TV channel, and they of course put it in front of the whole world. With me in the studio to discuss the implications of this report and whether or not and why didn't the report fix responsibility is Pramit Pal Chowdhury, Foreign Affairs Editor of Hindustan Times. Also with me is RSN Singh, intelligence expert. Many thanks, both of you, for joining me. Pramit, I'll start with you really. The fact that, first of all, the Pakistani top authorities wrote a report about it, admitted that the Pakistani intelligence is culpable, they were negligent, even the civilian administration had no idea he was living there, putting on a cowboy hat while gardening, living like a normal person, really like a doting granddad, so the report also says. How far does it indict the Pakistani intelligence, first of all, and also the military authorities?
Well, consider what the indictment argued. The report basically says that they indict them for not knowing that bin Laden was there, but this therefore then clears, the report therefore then helps clear the Pakistanis of any claim, which is still widely suspected even within Washington, that the ISI was in fact was helping bin Laden.
So plausible deniability.
Well, let's put it as a deniability anyway, but the report in fact exonerates, in one way exonerates the Pakistani intelligence system and military by claiming that, oh, they were incompetent, but they were not in any way, they did not know that bin Laden was there in Abbottabad, which is considered highly suspect in a lot of quarters, because here you had, which the report itself mentions, there was a building, a huge building like this, the police, it was right between the military academy and a regimental headquarters. The report claims that they at one point they believed the building was vacant. The police believed it was vacant. And then nobody seems to bother to inspect it. And the other thing that I point out, that despite all of this, there was no inquiry held by the Pakistani military or the police as to why they didn't, why the police neglected that specific
We can assume
building.
safely are quite sharp otherwise.
Yes.
But anything is going around in the country.
In India, as in Pakistan, in a sensitive area like this, every single building is checked by the local police. I mean, that's just a standard routine. And if a group of foreigners moves into that area, it's something
Non-Urdu speaking, Arabic speaking foreigners.
Yes, then police would be expected to find out who these people are.
Mr. Singh, do you buy this theory at all that the Pakistani intelligence and the army, there was a base a kilometer away with this huge compound with high walls, unknown people who don't speak Urdu, the national language? Doesn't that raise any suspicion at all?
See, if you see the contents of the report, it does hint at, conspiracy and collusion, but with great, reluctance, it has tried to rule it out. But the fact of the matter is, you are absolutely right. This was, outside the Pakistan Military Academy, just few hundred meters away. And also, let me tell you that the commandant of the PMA was the same Lieutenant General who had, staged that coup in absence of Musharraf. So he was Musharraf's very own man. And two things, Athar, there are two lessons. One lesson is the way the Pakistani military intelligence establishment has beguiled, the Americans, taken all the dollars. And then when they could not have, carry it any further, they had to give him up. The second thing is, and which I think, we all must take notice of, that the report very conveniently or deliberately escapes the role of Shuja Pasha, the head of the ISI.
Head of the ISI.
Now, there is a lesson for India. Either you may say it's a wrong lesson. That look how they guard their intelligence, intelligence agencies when it comes to national interest. Now, yesterday, I mean, we had a debate here where a whole lot of, aspersions were being, made on various intelligence agencies. So this is a lesson. You may learn, we may take this lesson or ignore it. But these are two very important things, I thought.
this is not the only instance that raises eyebrows. Now, according to the report, and I've been reading excerpts from the Al Jazeera website, they also claim, the report also claims that while traveling in the Swat Valley, Obama was stopped or recognized twice at least, but he managed to basically get out of it somehow by talking to the local police officer who had stopped his car. Now, there are of course suspicions that he was around there in Pakistan, and there is no way that intelligence, first of all, military authorities as well as their other agencies wouldn't have been aware. Now, is this report an attempt to basically cover up and, like Mr. Singh said, to protect their own intelligence apparatus?
Well, that's a good question. We don't know. The report claims to have interviewed, I think, over 200 witnesses to put it together. As he mentioned, the Al Jazeera report is missing the page in which Pasha's comments to the Americans is there. And that's interesting, because if I'm leaking a report to Al Jazeera, why should I take out that page? The only group that is helped by this is the ISI itself. So in effect, the ISI, what makes you wonder that the only person who would take this page out would be somebody from the ISI himself and then leak the report. So it seems to be the intelligence agency leaks the report itself. Now the Pakistani government in Pakistan today has said that we will not even accept that this report is necessarily genuine.
Right.
They've said that we will see, we haven't seen the full report, but we're not even going to claim that this report or accept that this report is a genuine.
And they've also said it's too early to say whether or not action should be taken against whoever leaked it, because that, of course, could amount to treason.
Yeah. So you have this very bizarre situation where you have a report that seems to have been doctored in the form of its leak, and then on top of that, you have a government that is so far unwilling to even accept that this report is genuine and so on.
Athar, you know, this input that Kayani knew it at least five hours before Zardari. I mean, it speaks of the, you know, that there is no change in the, you know, the dynamics of relationship between the military and the civilian leadership. So therefore, there were maybe, I mean, it clearly shows that Kayani was not, you know, sharing with Zardari whatever was going on with the Americans.
Same also with Pakistan.
Yes. The other important thing is, you know, that when this American, you know, intervention took place in Afghanistan and this whole, you know, business of global war against terror. So, you know, at least we all thought that, you know, probably the Americans will be able to make the Pakistanis undergo a change of heart. That has not happened at all. The fundamentalist dynamics have not changed in Pakistan. They're very much, you know, in love with Osama bin Laden. They continue to be in love with Taliban. So 10-12 years down the line, I mean, nothing has been achieved on the ground, you know, as far as, you know, that addressing that epicenter of you know, jihadi terrorism is concerned. No, the psychological dynamics haven't changed.
The report also mentioned it's not clear on the fact when drones attacked in Pakistan. It also claims the ISI and the intelligence agencies had no idea about it. It didn't happen with the consent of Pakistanis. Now this paints intelligence agencies like something like people who don't really know what's happening. Now that's not the reality in Pakistan. No. All three of us sitting there, here, would know that.
And there are, in fact, if I remember correctly, a WikiLeaks document that makes it very clear that the Pakistani system, I think Zardari telling, I've forgotten who, one of the U.S. Secretaries of State, you go ahead and carry out the attack, it's fine. I have no problems with you going on. And we all know that Sharif, while he's been denouncing this in public, even as he's come in,
he's been talking to extremists.
He's been talking, but he's also been telling privately that, look, the army wants the drone attacks to continue. So therefore, it's relatively obvious that the army had cleared these attacks, and that the entire Pakistani establishment, whatever they may say in public, privately they had told the Americans, go ahead. The only thing that they had requested is that the bulk of the drone attacks be directed against Tehrik-i-Taliban, which is aimed at Pakistan itself, and they were trying to keep the Haqqani network saved from the drone attacks.
Yeah, please go ahead.
If I might, draw your attention to the fact that, as far as conducting intelligence wars are concerned, I would rate Pakistan very, very high. Because, that entire, that's when Soviet invasion of Afghanistan took place, and that, close cooperation with the ISI, with the CIA. I mean, they know, they're very, very adept at this. So they also know that how to trick these Americans. And let me tell you,
So you're saying that this Jazeera leak could be part of
absolutely,
denying...
You know, they don't get seduced by the Americans the way we do. This is a fact. They know inside out, you know, how to deal with these people, and they have been successful. I mean, I acknowledge the fact.
But do you think if three of us sitting on this table are not really convinced about the veracity of the report, do you think the Americans or anyone else for that matter will be?
It's all fixed match.
It's a fixed match. We understand that. But do you think?
It's a fixed.
But do you think the attempt
put it this way: if the report makes the claim that the ISI and the army didn't know about the drone attacks, the Americans know that's wrong. Okay, if they're going to go around and make the claim that they didn't know that Bin Laden was in Abbottabad, I know absolutely certainly that a large number of within the American system believes that somebody definitely knew in the military. So they're going, again, this report will be looked upon by the Americans with a certain degree of suspicion. And then the fact that the Pasha page is missing would make the Americans also wonder, because that they know, because they have the other side of the conversation on their records. So they'll look at it and they'll look at the 7 things that they have on their file and say that we know why this has been ripped out. All of this would make anybody wonder that this report seems to be almost designed to cleanse the name of the ISI and the military, and then has then been quietly released to Al Jazeera, the one media organization in the world that Al-Qaeda and the ISI is closest to.
Absolutely. Last 2 questions. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be very, very surprised if, you know, if Musharraf is held accountable for anything. I don't think Nawaz Sharif will be successful. You know, taking all this into background, this man has huge backing from the Western world.
So you're saying still Mr. Musharraf
yes, this is also a fixed match going on. I have my doubts. I could be wrong, but I don't think Musharraf is still a man to watch out for. Not politically, but otherwise. I mean, he...
Okay, one last reaction from you, Pramit, before we end the show. Now, this report now comes almost 2 years after Osama bin Laden was killed by the Navy SEALs. Now, Osama bin Laden is dead, ladies and gentlemen. We're still discussing him. It should tell you a bit about the impact the dead terrorist has had on international world affairs.
And just 1 minute. In Syria, the same Americans, they are backing the Al-Qaeda elements.
So, okay, coming back to Osama, 2 years after he's dead, this report comes out now. What is the intelligence community in Pakistan, whoever made this report, it is said to be written by the highest authorities, whatever that means in Pakistan. What purpose does it serve 2 years after? Do you think that this coming at a point when America has already celebrated mission accomplished, Osama bin Laden is already dead, they don't have a threat from him, Al-Qaeda seems to be floundering. What purpose does it, what is the timing? Does the timing make sense to you?
Well, there's a couple of possible ideas. One, Kayani will be demitting office, should be demitting office at the end of this year. So he's come in. Abbottabad was a big blot on his record as far as the Pakistani system was concerned. Therefore, if I'm Kayani, I would probably like to see a document that would help cleanse my record as I go into retirement. The military also has a problem. Sharif has come to power, and as far as we can see, at least the Indian side seems to believe, the military tried to stop this. They didn't want Sharif to come to power. They deliberately created Imran Khan. They created a number of other political groups.
That didn't work.
It didn't work out. Imran swept to power. Sharif swept to power. So to some degree, the military remain partially discredited within the Pakistani system.
So this could be a final attempt to actually cleanse their name.
I think there's no further attempt to go big, because they're going to go in for a big victory now, in their view, which is that as the Americans withdraw from Afghanistan, the Pakistani military believes they were going to be the fill-in.
That's all the time we have, unfortunately. Pramit Pal Chaudhary, many thanks for joining us. Arsen Singh, many thanks for joining us. Of course, this could be an attempt, and this is the panel's view, of cleansing the name of the Pakistani military establishment, in particular, a certain General Kayani. That's all the time we have. I'm Athar Khan. Good night.